Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here to discuss a really outstanding Monday NBA main slate, 10-game NBA slate, and I love it. I'm excited about it. Double-digit slates always are my favorite. I think it gives us an edge, based on all of our preparation. And just excited to discuss that with you today. Also, this week, the nice thing about it is Thanksgiving, no NBA on Thanksgiving. Christmas is the special day for NBA, but it does give us that day to enjoy family, friends, and catch some football. So definitely follow us this week, NFL-wise. I know our guys are working really hard. Andrew Hansen, Josh Davis, and our man Omaha, Joe Stanton, and also John Weehausen doing the analytics. So please follow us this week for the NFL. That's going to be a busy week with Thanksgiving football. And then as far as the NBA goes, we're going to hit this 10-game slate today. Tomorrow's just a 4-gamer, and that's why we don't have many back-to-backs here at all. We have 2 teams out of the 20 on the slate today on the second night of a back-to-back. Nobody on the first night. So that gives us a little bit cleaner look at the slate as well. Andrew will tackle tomorrow's 4-gamer, and then I'll be back on Wednesday with a massive 13-game slate. I believe it's 13, either Wednesday or Friday or both. Just huge slate. So we'll go out with a turkey coma, as you will, here for Wednesday and Thursday. But that's sort of the way our schedule is this week at DFS Coach Talk. We'd love to have you join us. Go to dfscoachtalk.com. You can sign up for as little as a 3-day pass for $10, 5-day for $19, and just check us out through this holiday stretch. If you're off work, you have a little extra time, this is a perfect opportunity to check us out. If you're watching this on YouTube, please take a second, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and give us a comment. Just enjoyed it. Whatever, if it's a question, if it's a positive statement, whatever you'd like, that really helps us move up the algorithm here at YouTube. And if you're listening on any of our audio podcast spots, whether it be Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, we are everywhere they can be heard. Take a second, give us a 5-star rating and a quick comment. We have a contest that we draw, a 1-week free membership at Coach Talk. We draw that at the end of every month. So we have just over a week left. So, just by putting a 5-star and a comment, that qualifies you for the random drawing. All right, that is it. We're going to go after it. We've been doing a little bit of the prep work on the front side so that we get this all prepared and ready to go. And then we're just diving in. We're going to fire through 10 games here. We're going to give you a breakdown, a statistical look at it, a good analysis there, and also just what we're seeing from game to game, from team, play to trends to, body language of players, coaching tendencies. And we do have a coaching change. We did predict it and have been calling for it for about a year here on Coach Talk. Luke Walton fired for the Sacramento Kings, and taking over for like the 9 millionth time is Mr. Alvin Gentry. I think he's like 75 years old, I swear. But anyway, you just never die as an NBA coach. You just get reincarnated in another position somewhere. So very interesting. So I wish him well. Can't be worse than what Walton did there. So it'll be fun to watch that. All right, here we go. Game number 1. It is the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Brooklyn -7. The total's only 208.5. Implied for Brooklyn 107.75. 100.75 for the banged up Cleveland Cavaliers. Brooklyn comes in at an impressive 12-5. Cleveland still over 500 though, 9-8. Nobody expected that or saw that coming. Out for Brooklyn is Bruce Brown, Claxton, Joe Harris, and Kyrie still remains out. So little shakeup in that lineup with a shorter rotation. For Cleveland, we've got two that are doubtful. That's Jetty Osmond and Stevens. And then we already know Mobley is out. So very short-handed a little bit here on both sides. All right, so let's look statistically speaking. Brooklyn is 10th in pace, Cleveland 21st. Offensive efficiency, Brooklyn, we know, could score the ball. They're up to 9th. Cleveland, somehow, just because of defense, I guess, because offensively they're not getting it done, to have 9 wins under their belt. They're 25th. Pace of play is good here, though. So with Brooklyn being 10th, it's a pace-up game for Cleveland. So you can look at a decent pace, but the over-under scares you, and the game could blow out with Cleveland being a little bit even more shorthanded than Brooklyn. Defensive efficiency is the other thing that's a little scary here. 5th for Brooklyn, 11th for Cleveland, and I think that's what's keeping that number down. It's hard not to want to start the night with either James Harden at 11-6 or Kevin Durant at 11. It's, becomes necessary at times to have one of those guys. I lean in this game back to the KD side. He was rested up. Harden sort of carried the load the last game. So Durant, if you can find enough value, which there is a ton of value and more will open up as the day goes on, KD certainly an interesting play. After that, you can always go, bargain basement here with Patty Mills at 4-5. LaMarcus even at 5K if he gets big run. They've been going to him a lot. And then also DeAndre Bembry at 3-1 has a very good chance to start here with both Bruce Brown and Joe Harris out. So, Bembry a target possibly. Mills, you certainly can get some value out of this game to balance if you want to play Durant or Harden. Again, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Durant. On the Cleveland side, Rubio and Garland have been the two guys to go to, but they're expensive here. 7-2 for Garland, 6-8 for Rubio. A little more expensive than they have been. Certainly both can be played here, but Brooklyn's defense, man, I mean, last year that was the thing. When they put this team together, they were 30th for a while, and then they moved up a little. But to be 5th this year with pretty much the same team, just a couple of changes, very impressive. So not looking to stack up any Cleveland guys by any standard, but you do have a bunch of value of guys that are going to get a bunch of minutes. Lauri Markkanen could be back and should be back, and he's certainly can score the basketball. He's only 5K. We don't know what type of restriction there. I'm not going to go there on, with 20 teams playing. You don't have to go to those kind of spots like Dean Wade 5-3, Okoro 5. Again, if you want somebody that's going to play 30 plus minutes on the cheap, you can go there. They can throw up some duds. Rubio, again, though, still has been terrific off the bench, and Garland. Those would be the two guys I would at least consider. All right, game 2, also 7 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards. Washington's favored by 3.5. It's a 216.5 total. 106.5 implied for Charlotte. 110, nice number. I like the 110 plus in this day and age of the NBA. Hard to believe, but that really is solid. I mean, it used to be 120 was super solid, but now it's all the way down to 110. So that gets a little bit of attention. Charlotte is 10-8, Washington 11-5. Injuries, we have questionable tag on PJ Washington. He may be back, which will muddle up that rotation for the bigs in Charlotte. And then we've got questionable tag on Bertans for Washington. And then Bryant and Hashimura remain out. From a statistical standpoint, second fastest pace team in the league in Charlotte. So big pace up for Washington. Washington's all the way down to 23rd. They played a much more conservative approach, defensive being something that they've really focused on. So they're only 23rd. And then offensive efficiency, Charlotte 10th, Washington 18th. Defense, though, Charlotte not getting it done. That's why they've lost some of these games and some of the tight ones down the stretch. They are 25th in defensive efficiency. Washington is 9th, so they remain in the top 10. LaMelo Ball, always an option to pay up. 10-2, though. Pretty hefty tag there, but you can definitely consider it. After that, Rozier at 6K has not quite clicked yet. A little high on Hayward at 6.8 for his output. Miles Bridges has been the guy to go to. He is 8.2, but definitely has some upside and could be considered. I'm probably not going to go there. Bench guys not jumping off the board for me for Charlotte. On the Washington side, I'm not as excited to go at 9-3 Beal. Rozier's defense, I think, is tough. And, even though it's a big pace-up game for them, Beal should get a few more shots up. I just don't want to use my spend-up card on him. Spencer Dinwiddie's $2,000 less at 7.3 and could be in play. I have noticed, though, they don't extend him very hard. When, he's more playable when Beal sits for sure. But when Beal plays, they're still getting some minutes off the bench for Raul Neto and Aaron Holiday. So, yeah, not as crazy about that play. Kuzma at 6.6 is in play. He's rebounded the ball really well. I think, you can consider him at that fair price. Then you have that dilemma of the two bigs. And for me, again, on a slate this big, even though both of them could make value here, 4.4 Gafford and 6.2 Harrell, I just not really thrilled with any type of timeshare on monster slates like this. All right, we move to the 7:30 p.m. slot. Houston Rockets, Boston Celtics. Boston favored by a big 11.5. We know Houston has really struggled. 214 is the total, 101.25 implied for Houston. A nice 112.75 for the Celtics. So that gets you definitely interested and paying attention. As far as injuries go, we do need news on Kevin Porter Jr. He's questionable. That definitely changes their rotation. It definitely helps Green and a couple of the other guys. So let's, hear that info. We know Wall's out for the year. Looks like Jaylen Brown is probably going to play. So that's good news. The big news, though, is Robert Williams II. He missed the last one. He is questionable here, and that definitely helps to get that news. Houston is 1-15, so not very promising. Celtics 9-8 and trying to get some momentum. So certainly you've got to be a little concerned with blowout potential here. It's in Boston. For that reason, it scares me. I mean, yes, if they blow them out, some Boston guys are going to have to play really well. But with Jaylen Brown back in the mix, that takes the luster off of Jason Tatum. And Tatum's 10-1, Brown's 9-6. So with that being split up again, you still have Al Horford at 7-6. If Williams is out, is decent play. But if Williams is back at 6-1, it's hard there because they are going to split some of those rebounds up and some of the defensive stats, etc. So really, Dennis Schroeder's been terrific from a DFS standpoint in Brown's absence, but again, that knocks the luster off of him at 6.8. So not really crazy, even though that's a strong total of 112.75 for Boston. Houston on the other side, again, if Porter plays, it's definitely depletes the aspect of trying to get some guys in here. Jalen Green at 4.7, if Porter sits, I think is playable. Christian Wood can be considered at 7.6. But again, blowout potential. They're using, Tate, Tice, Gordon, Şengün. KJ Martin's getting minutes. House is getting minutes. even Nawaba and Augustine at times. So I really don't like this game. I don't like how it sets up. Houston is the fastest paced team in the league. So that makes you want to say, hey, let's get some Boston guys in here. But the best guys are expensive, and if you make the wrong choice there, or they split it up, or it blows out, it really could blow up your whole roster. Boston's 20th in pace. Offensive efficiency, Houston last, Boston 15th. Defense, nothing to write home about. Houston 21st. Boston is up to 12th, so they're in that upper half. And like I say, this game just doesn't give me good vibes. I am going to move on. Another 7:30 game, Oklahoma City and Atlanta. Now you got the double whammy here as well. You've got the same exact spread with Atlanta favored by 11.5, and it's at home. 212.5, a little bit less of a total. 100.5 implied for Oklahoma City, 112 for Atlanta. So similar type situation here that we really have to dig into. The Thunder are 6-10, which isn't that bad considering that they're not very good. And Atlanta only 8-9, but this would get them back to 500. I know they want to scoop this game, and I think they could, lay one on the Thunder here. We will see. The big news is they'll definitely lay one on them if Shea doesn't play. Gilgeous-Alexander is questionable. Massive news there, because if he doesn't play, it really does bring a player or two in play for the Thunder. I know they use a deep bench, but we'll talk a little bit about that. But that certainly would open up a massive amount of usage. Bogdanovich is questionable for Atlanta. He's been nursing an injury for quite some time. And Hunter and Okongwu remain out. As far as statistically speaking, we've got Oklahoma City 11th in pace, Atlanta 15th, so reasonable enough there. Offensive efficiency, Oklahoma City, again, the young teams always just log jam the bottom of the offensive efficiency statistic, and Oklahoma City's 29th. Atlanta is 6th, so they can score the ball. We all know that. Where they have really struggled this year is defensively. Their defense has been atrocious. Oklahoma City's defense, why they've won some games, is 13th, so they're in the upper half, while Atlanta, who went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, is 27th in defense. So, again, it does create some situations here where you can look at some guys. If Shea is ruled in and there's no minutes restrictions, he's only 7-6 against a pretty weak backcourt defensively for Atlanta. So if Shea's in, he's in play for me. If he sits, here are the guys that I would consider. There's three of them. Dort at 5-1, Giddey at 6, and Baisley at 4-9. Those three guys, to me, in play if Shea sits. After that, I mean, they go deep. They've got such a big bench, Favors, JRE, Williams, Pokacheski, Ty Jerome, Aaron Wiggins getting minutes lately, Muscala, Roby. They're just, they go deep. They're young, and that does not help from the DFS standpoint. So let's get that news on Shea. As far as the Atlanta side goes, again, it could blow out. Big price on Trey at 9.4. Not really comfortable going to that number. We know Bogdanovich might not play. If he doesn't play, it does help Kevin Huerter at 4.2. Cam Reddish at 3.6, who's really picked up his game. And Gallo, Danilo Gallinari at 4K. All possible value plays, specifically even more so with Bogdanovich out. You can always look to go big with Collins at 7.2, Capella at 7.6. There is a possibility that they play Favors and Capella off the floor and go with, a smaller lineup with like Baisley and then the other side Collins at center. So I'm not looking at the bigs in this game, but let's get the news on Shea and Bogdanovich. Possible value play, one on each side here at the very most, but definitely not the best game to target on the entire board here. All right, let's go to the next one. 8 o'clock game. So we've transitioned now to the 8 o'clock group of games. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves at the New Orleans Pelicans. Minnesota only favored by 3. The over-under is only 212.5, which is a little surprising. I thought that would be higher. Implied for Minnesota, 107.75. For the Pelicans, 104.75. So this game has definite potential, I think. Minnesota comes in at 7-9. The Pelicans, woeful 3-15. As far as injuries, we've got Naz Reid is probable. Josh Okogie, questionable. So that would help to know that. Devontae Graham is questionable. So that definitely shakes the board up a little bit for the Pelicans on their rotation if he sits. Luzada and Zion Cheeseburgers Williamson, man after my own heart, still remains out. I don't know if we're ever going to get him back. As far as the statistical analysis here, we've got a couple interesting things. Minnesota is the 6th fastest team, so it's a pace up for the Pelicans. Pelicans 17th, just below mid-level. Neither team has been efficient on the offensive side, which is surprising, especially for Minnesota with all their scores. That's why the total is only 212.5. Minnesota 23rd, New Orleans 26th. So not good there. Defensive efficiency-wise, Minnesota's 10th, which is definitely on the improve, and the Pelicans second to last in the entire league. So I don't know. This game seems like it's being overlooked for some odd reason here. Not going to go with the Pat Bevs, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley's, Jaden McDaniels. All those guys on a slate this big just aren't in play. The main guys are, though, D'Angelo Russell's a fair 7.6. Anthony Edwards, I think, is a little underpriced at 7.4. His price has come down from 8.1. So certain huge interest there for me. Cat's come down. He's at 9.5, which is definitely playable now. He was over 10 for quite some time. So I think you've got the 3 studs there that you could actually consider one or even a combination of 2 in a game against a weak Pelicans defense that is supposed to, according to Vegas, stay close. Again, if Graham doesn't play, Satoransky at 3K started in his place, not playable though. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, more of a GPP play. I've used him in cash, and he's burned me a few times. Capability is huge ceiling at 5.4, though. So, you got to consider it, especially if Graham doesn't play. Josh Hart's been steady Eddie at 5.5, just staying around the same price, throwing some good games on the board, getting some solid minutes, certainly into consideration for me. The other 2 guys we could talk about here, if we do load up on this game, you could go either Brandon Ingram, who's sub 8K now, he's 7.9, and Joe Val is 8.9, so he had been in the 9K range. So definitely the price is down in this game all the way around. I'm going to have exposure here, definitely at least 1 from each side, maybe even 2 T-Wolves. I think this could be a really key game on the slate. All right. Next 8 o'clock game, Indiana Pacers, Chicago Bulls. Chicago is favored by 3.5. It's a 210.5 over under. Implied total for the Pacers, 103.5. For the Bulls, 107. As far as how these teams have performed, Indiana 7-11, 4 games below 500. Definitely disappointing thus far. Bulls strong at 12-5. They have been consistent, especially tough at home. It is the second night of a back-to-back for Chicago. There's only 2 teams that are on back-to-backs on this whole slate. Chicago, one of them. So that does concern things a little bit. So we'll have to talk about that when we look over the breakdown. TJ Warren remains out for Indiana. Vuk and Patrick Williams out for Chicago. Williams for the season. Statistically, again, Chicago back-to-back, our guy's going to get full run. That we have to see. But we've got Indiana 14th in pace, Chicago only 25th. They've been playing pretty conservative ball control type offense, which has served them well. And then as far as offensive efficiency, Indiana middle of the pack at 16, Chicago 8th. Defensive efficiency, Indiana's only 17th. You're expecting to have a stronger D. Chicago's 7th. So, it's not like a run to this game and, load some people up. I played Sabonis at 1% ownership the last game, and he absolutely was smashing. But they ended up winning by 35 points, somewhere in that neighborhood. And he didn't get any run at all in the fourth quarter, didn't get much in the second half. So, he's tough, man. And I think he's more focused. They had a real sit-down meeting a couple days ago, and now they seem to be playing better. He's really focused. And I know he's going to be low-owned again, but he's 8-7, so he's sub 9K. I'm interested in him, man. I'm telling you, if he gets the minutes, I think he can be really effective here. So he's high on my list for consideration. Brogdon at 7-3, his price has come down. LeVert's been very, very inconsistent. Not going to go there at 6K, which is a nice price, though. Miles Turner at 6-1 gets some interest. Duarte sort of, the gas is coming out of the vehicle here. Duarte's down to 4K, but not really stepping up and getting it done as much. Since LeVert's come back, it has definitely taken a sting out of his minutes. After that, it's just guys that on a slate this big for the Pacers, I'm not going to consider. For the Bulls, you've got, the issue of Ball at 6.9, Levine at 9K, DeRozan at 9.1. So you've got some sharing of the basketball, DFS points getting spread around. And then Caruso at 5.2. He's been super consistent, getting massive minutes for them. Those guys can all be considered. It's just very difficult, to try to determine which guy is the focal point. I think DeRozan at 9.1 would get the slight edge for me, but that is an expensive ticket when he may get, wildly outscored by Levine, for example. So something I'm going to look further at. I'm going to dig into Basketball Reference, look at some of the matchups to see how some of those have played out against Indiana. For my initial look, DeRozan gets the edge there, but, wouldn't count out Ball, Caruso, or Levine. Not interested in Bradley, White, Green, Jones Jr., Dosunmu, their bench. I just don't think you need to go there. All right, last 8 o'clock game on the board. Orlando Magic and the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee favored by 12.5. That's the magic number. That's the third game that's got a 12.5 Vegas line. Very interesting. 102 implied for Orlando. Real healthy 114.5 for the Milwaukee Bucks. So this game definitely, is going to get some ownership. Orlando, super banged up. The massive news there is Cole Anthony going to play. He is questionable. He is the top usage guy for Orlando. He's the top scorer in real life and in DFS for Orlando. And that is huge news. We really need to know if he's going to play. If he doesn't play, you'll get a little bit more run from Suggs and Gary Harris. But Suggs at that point will probably get Drew Holiday defense. So either way, it doesn't look like it's going to work for me on the Orlando side. And I've rostered a lot of Orlando guys considering they're 4-13. They've been pretty DFS friendly from a scoring standpoint. Bucks are 9-8, by the way, and they're getting some momentum as they've gotten their guys back and healthy again. When I'm talking about Middleton and Holiday, and Giannis is in there too. So other than that, on the Orlando side, injury-wise, Gary Harris probable. He played the last game. Michael Carter-Williams, doubtful. Fultz, Isaac, and Moore out. So, again, they've had half their team out all year. Same three guys for Milwaukee as last game out: DiVincenzo, Lopez, and Ojale. Statistically speaking, Orlando 8th in pace, Milwaukee 5th in pace. So you got to love that. 216.5 seems a little low, but that has been the trend in the NBA. I do like the pace. Offensive efficiency, of course, Orlando, young team, 27th. Milwaukee only 17th, but they just had a mishmash of injuries and guys out. That will continue to get better. Orlando's 28th. That's in the league in defensive efficiency. That's why they have not done well. Milwaukee 14th and improving, but certainly not to the standard that they were last year. So it does bring people into play. Again, if Cole Anthony does play with zero restrictions at 7-7, that's not a bad price, but he does run right into Drew Holiday, who's a monster on defense. Suggs at 5K really hasn't gotten it done. Franz Wagner at 4-1, he just seems to make it into my lineup a lot as a value play because he gets good minutes. He does a little bit of everything. He'll get you some stocks and assists and rebounds. So he's still in play. I love the fact that Wendell Carter Jr. is all the way down to 5-7. That brings me a lot of interest. I know that he has to go up against Giannis and Portis, and those guys can defend. But, man, that's a cheap price for a guy that, if the game stays close enough, could get 35 minutes and easily get to that number with the 5-7 tag. Mo Bamba at 6-6. Not bad. He's going to get minutes as well, but Giannis's defense inside and Portis's defense is pretty darn tough. So not jumping out of my seat for Orlando guys. Could find a way to Wagner, to make the salaries work. On the Milwaukee side, again, it's tough. This game could blow out. We know Coach Bud doesn't overplay his guys at all. And you do have the three studs in Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis back. So there's some split there. Some of these prices are higher because there were different guys out. So I'm not going to go to Giannis again. He's 12K. Again, I know he can score 2.5 fantasy points per minute, for God's sakes. The guy's unbelievable. But I don't feel comfortable with it. I think they could smack Orlando, especially if Cole Anthony sits. And I don't want to take that chance of not getting full minutes. Portis is up to 7-2, Middleton 7-8, which isn't bad at all, and Holiday 7K, which is reasonable, but I don't think I'm going to go there. I really not, considering the usage is going to be spread around, the potential for blowout and the high prices, probably not going to go there. But if I did, Drew Holiday would probably be the guy I'd go to at 7K. All right. We move to an 8:30 start. The Phoenix Suns and the San Antonio Spurs. We've got a second night of a back-to-back for Phoenix. And Monty's another coach that does not like to overtax his guys. And he gets to play against his old coach he coached with and his coaching mentor and Pop, who is known for resting guys more than anybody else in the history of the NBA. So you've got a big number here. It's, these last three games happen to be just, oddly enough, the three biggest totals on the board. So how strange is that? It happens more than you'd think, though. But I did want to mention that on the jump here that it is Phoenix second night of a back-to-back. All right, we've got Phoenix favored by 5.5, which is sort of low. 220.5 over under, 113 implied for Phoenix, 107.5 for the San Antonio Spurs. Suns come in at 13-3, winning just 12 in a row. That's all. They are on fire. Spurs, not good, 4-11 and going nowhere fast. Questionable for Phoenix, Nader. Out Kaminsky and Saric. For the Spurs, we have probable for Landell, not that he's in the rotation. Collins remains out. He has not suited up yet. Statistically, 16th in pace for Phoenix, third for the Spurs. How about that shocking news? The Spurs, when have they been in the top 3 in pace in the league? Not often. That does help the Phoenix side a little bit. And the Vegas only being 5.5, definitely this is going to be a pivotal game, whether you play it or not play it, because there's reasons to jump on it and reasons to fade it. So this could be the pivot spot for a lot of people. Offensive efficiency, Phoenix obviously tough at 7th. San Antonio 24th, not good. Defensively, Phoenix is 3rd, and San Antonio is 16th, so middle of the pack. Interesting game here. So how much run does Chris Paul get at 8.4 or Booker at 8.6? Mikal Bridges at 5 in play. DeAndre Ayton at 7.1. Maybe not my cup of tea, though. I dabbled in the DeAndre Ayton the other day, and it did not go well. And you know how I feel about Ayton anyway, so we'll not be going into that mess again. And JaVale's been ridiculous DFS points per minute, but he's at 3.9 now, and you just never know. It's a risk. GPP, go for it. Cam Johnson at 3.5 off the bench. Cam Payne at 3.3 might be a good play if they don't extend Paul's minutes. But not jumping out of my seat again for this one. A lot of sitting down today, I guess. Really particular. Don't like some of these matchups for some of these teams under the exact circumstances. DeJounte Murray 9.2, which is better than where he was. And he's over 10 for a while, and he has put some triple doubles on the board. But against that, Phoenix stiff defense and Chris Paul not in consideration as a pay up option for me. After that, you just got a whole lot of nothing, to be honest with you. White, McDermott, Eubanks, and Thad Young splitting minutes. I know those guys are cheap, but they're just not worth much. I guess the only guy worth a mention is Keldon Johnson, but he's 5.9, which isn't exactly dirt cheap. And he's going to get the double duo of a little bit of Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder defense. So, yeah, as far as that pivot spot, this just isn't my favorite game on the board. It really isn't. I may not have any exposure to it. If there's salary left on the table, I wouldn't, throw out Paul and Booker. Maybe one of them is playable in this situation, or on the cheap, maybe Mikal Bridges. But not a key game for me either. I like these last 2 games better than that game for sure. Island games for all 4 of these teams coming up. So we do have a 9 p.m. Eastern game and then a 10 p.m. on the last one. So we will get a chance to watch these late games and get some good input there. All right, we've got the Memphis Grizzlies at the Utah Jazz. Utah favored by 10. Which is quite a bit, but Utah's been playing some good ball. It's a 221.5. That's the highest total on the board. 105.75 for the Grizz, and the highest implied on the entire slate is the Jazz at 115.75. So this game getting a lot of respect and probably going to get a lot of play. You've got the Grizzlies at 8-9, the Jazz at 11-5. Big news, Dylan Brooks, he is doubtful in this game. He came back for a short time. Now it looks like he's back on the shelf. They also are not going to have DeAnthony Melton, which hurts them a lot. And Merrill remains out also. Utah still remains no injuries. Isn't that crazy? I mean, with all of the guys out and injured, I mean, they just have been so fortunate to stay completely healthy, and that's really the big reason why they're 11-5. Statistically, good pace here. That's why the high total. Memphis 7th, Utah 12th. Utah's played faster this year than they've played in previous years. I think Coach Snyder there has just decided they're going to, outplay, just get more shots up and get after it, and it's worked. As far as offensively efficient, both teams have been good. Memphis 13th, respectable. Utah 2nd in the entire league, so that's outstanding. And then a big reason for the higher total here, Can you believe the Memphis Grizzlies are dead last in the league in defense? I mean, they have just plummeted defensively. Not having Brooks has just destroyed them. I mean, they were in the upper half of the league defensively with Dylan Brooks in there. And then not having Joe Val, as much as he fouled, he was a big body and got in the way and was aggressive. So, they traded him. So, it's tough, but that's the thing that's really hurting them a lot. So it does bring this game into play. I mean, there's no doubt. Utah's fourth in defense, by the way, as well. So, Morant, 9-7, a little pricey against, a Utah team playing in the elevation, good defense. Don't know if that's the best play. Ja did have a really terrible game last time out. So I mean, he's going to bounce back and come out with fire in his eyes, but I don't know if I could pay the 9-7. Desmond Bane up and down 4-9, not a bad value. Jaren Jackson at 6, decent value, but after that, it's tough. Kyle Anderson, I thought was a good play last time out. He didn't get it done. Taking DeAnthony Melton's spot in minutes. Tyus Jones was the one that made a bunch of shots, but GPP only at 3-4. After that, you just get a lot of nothing. Brandon Clark at 3-2 can have a decent game, but not really a cash type player here. I think Bane and maybe Anderson or Jackson are your best bets there if you want to have some exposure on both sides here. Utah, certainly, if this game stays close enough, that's the key. But Conley at 5-7, dirt cheap, is a nice play. Donovan Mitchell's just, been fantastic. He's been so steady. 8-5, not a bad price. I think he's rosterable. Bogdanovich at 5-3 and Royce O'Neal at 4-2, just not really jumping off the page for me. But, O'Neal at 4-2 sometimes as last man in can be a value, but, risky. Rudy Gobert at 8-3, this could be a strong game for him. Adams just, has really slowed down, doesn't really get the coverage defensively as he used to. So Gobert at that price, if you want to pay up at center, isn't the worst play. And then, the one guy off the bench there, Clarkson at 5-1, he's a hit or miss guy pretty much too, but certainly can get to the number. All right. Last game on the slate, it's 10 p.m. game, Philadelphia, Sacramento. Sacramento only a 2.5-point favorite, which I shouldn't say only because it's surprising that they're favored at all, but they are. And it's a 220.5 over or under. We know Alvin Gentry is a run and gun coach. Get the ball up the floor. He wants it up the floor in 5 seconds, even on made baskets, and a shot up within 8 or 9. That's really what he's coached in the past. So I think you're going to see some more interest from Sacramento, and Philly you should hear before people adjust. Vegas has already adjusted. They see that 220.5 over under. So I like this game a lot. It's cool that it's the last game because I don't let time affect which teams guys I'm going to play. But I do like this game. I think it's going to be a pace up game compared to what the statistics show. So I'm excited about this one. Did I say 109 implied for Philly, 111.5 for Sacramento? So both sides, I like, that number. Philly's 9-8. They've had to play without Joel for a while here. And Sacramento 6-11, but new coach, new life for that team. As far as questionable for Philly, you have Green. So we've got Danny Green maybe in, maybe out. Interesting to see that. And good old buddies Embiid and Simmons are not playing. Sacramento, no injuries, so that is a plus. Sacramento 6-11, as I mentioned. But, we'll see the new lease on life with Alvin Gentry getting them going. Are they going to change the lineup? That's the other thing. Right now they're plugged in to start who they've been starting, which is Fox, Halliburton, Barnes, Metu, and Holmes. I would not be surprised if Gentry doesn't shake up this lineup. He could go to a Buddy Hield, a Harkless, a Davion Mitchell, Tristan Thompson, Marvin Bagley, who knows, even Terrence Davis. So I'm going to be watching this very, very closely because you're going to get some value here in this game, depending on, figuring out what Gentry's starting lineup is and what his rotation looks like. But I like this game a lot. The pace right now, Philly's 24th, but they're going to be sped up by Sacramento today. Sacramento's already 4th. Don't be surprised if you don't see them end up first here in not too long of time. Offensive efficiency, they both could score the ball. That's the other thing. Philly is 3rd, but, without Embiid, that's a skewed number. Sacramento is 14th. And then neither team is defending well. And that's what excites me even more. You have 23rd and 24th for these two teams. So what is it looking like here? I may have 3 guys from this game and just sitting there in the middle of the pack and then get up there and grab it here, hopefully. Maxey in play at 7-4, no question. Not as high on Seth Curry, but can be considered. And then you've got guys that you really have to look at. Tobias Harris at 8-1 and Andre Drummond at 7-8. I think those guys are both priced fairly. There's going to be more percentages, more usage to be had. And, you've also got a few guys you can look at. If Thibel's back at 3-2, he may be in the rotation. We need that news on Curry because Korkmaz at 3-9 is a possibility. Same thing with Shake at 4-7. So you've got a lot to choose from there and really trying to zone in on one or two of these guys. I really wouldn't mind having a Maxey Harris type of duo here against the Kings with an up-paced game. On the other side, De'Aaron Fox, 6. He's been disappointing consistently. He's not shot well from outside. But I do like the speed in this game, and I think Fox may benefit the most of anybody on this team with Gentry taking over. So very well could have Fox in the lineup tonight. Tyrese Halliburton, we have to see what this rotation is going to look like. He's 5'9", Hield's 5'3", Davion Mitchell 3'6". So let's see who's starting. Let's see if we can get some coach, speaker, beat writer news on Twitter and determine what that's going to be. Harrison Barnes, another, fair guy to take here at 6'3". His price has come down consistently. He was almost to 8, I believe, but has been in the 7s for a long time. At this 6'3" number, I think Barnes, really steps up and could be playable. Because I don't know the rotation that Gentry is going to play with the bigs, I'm not going to dive on the whole Metu, Holmes, Tristan Thompson, Bagley, even Maurice Harkless and those guys. I need to wait and see. I think it's a little bit too risky there. So that is it, my friends. The whole enchilada, 10 games, right straight through. Got them all in, got them in good time. Love this slate tonight. I know it's going to be a 4 or 5 crown slate for me, for our members in Discord. So I'm excited to get this lineup together. Definitely need some of this news to come through, but really appreciate everybody listening in. Join us, dfscoachtalk.com, 3-day pass, $10, 5-day, 19. Great time to check us out during this holiday week of Thanksgiving with all the basketball and all the football going on. So we'd love to have you. Check us out on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. I am at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. If you haven't done it yet, on the way out here on YouTube, thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and make a little comment there. That really helps us move up the algorithm. So we appreciate you. Also on YouTube, hit that little button in the top corner there. The bell will give you information of when all of our podcasts post. So we would love to have you check those out. We appreciate you. Hope everybody that's traveling here for Thanksgiving to get to family and friends are safe and healthy. So, if you're listening in while you're traveling, download the podcast and catch us. It's a good thing, when you're stuck on a plane or in a car as you're traveling around, to catch some good basketball DFS info. So again, thank you for listening in. Appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Andrew's going to ride the ship here on Tuesday, and then I'll be back on Wednesday for that monster slate. So thanks again. Have a great one, and we'll be back tomorrow as we look to crush it in NBA DFS.